Have you heard that in Tibet and India alone, there are more than 160,000 documented cases of people who, after many years of spiritual preparation, managed to transform their physical body into a body of pure light, transforming the human body into rainbow light and ascending at the time of death? Today we discuss this amazing phenomena which has been fully documented by the Tibetans for thousands of years. This is happening right now and has continued in an unbroken line that we can trace since the first Buddha of the bone tradition, according to tradition close to 10,000 years prior. This has nothing to do with Sakyamuni Buddha, who became well known 2,500 years ago and whose tradition is not known to produce this phenomenon. Hang on tight as we delve into this subject, which is one of the most interesting areas of research. What is the rainbow body? This will sound like a movie, but here it is. The rainbow body is the transformation of the physical body into light. In other words, is a fully enlightened person, a Jivan Mukti, who also liberates the body into light. Now, there are 3 levels of the rainbow body: 1. The rainbow body, 2. The rainbow body of light, and 3. The rainbow body of great transference. The most common level is the normal rainbow body that occurs only after body death. Every 5 years or so a Buddhist from Tibet enters into the state. There are no physical signs indicating the start of the process before death, and once physical death occurs it takes on average 7 days for the body to shrink and dissolve into light, and most of the time a small child-sized body remains behind and in more advanced yogis only hair and nails. In the ancient times this phenomenon was known very well. In Sufism, or Tasawwuf, which is often defined as Islamic mysticism, the inward dimension of Islam, it is called the most sacred body and the supra-celestial body. Taoists refer to it as the diamond body, and those who have attained it are named the immortals and the cloud walkers. Yogic schools and tantric teachings call it the divine body, while in Kriya Yoga it is referred to as the body of bliss. In Vedanta, the superconductive body, while the ancient Egyptians called it the luminous body or being, Ak, or the Karist. In the Mithraic liturgy, it was dubbed as the perfect body. In the Hermetic corpus, it is referred to as the immortal body, while in the alchemical tradition, the Emerald Tablet calls it the golden body. In order to attain a rainbow body, a person has to be able to liberate their body into light by having only loving thoughts, among other things of course. It is believed that not every 5 years on average, an advanced Buddhist monk enters into this enlightened state. This process is extremely powerful, and it is said that weeks before being able to achieve this transformation, some Buddhist monks can engrave their hand or foot onto a wall. Many historical occurrences are well documented. The great thing about the Nyingmapa, which are the Red Hats, one of the 4 main Tibetan Buddhist traditions, oldest and closest to the ancient tradition, and the bone, which is the ancient tradition which predates Nyingmapa according to some by 10,000 years, is that they are excellent record keepers. They both also have in common a method of practice called Dzogchen, the Great Perfection. This is a real gift to mankind. It has its own identity and is free of deities and religious overtones. It is simplicity itself for the prepared student. Dzogchen is known as the practice which brings about the rainbow body phenomena. According to Tibetan Buddhism and bone, Dzogchen is the natural, primordial state or natural condition of a human being, and the practice of Dzogchen is a body of teachings and meditations aimed at realizing that condition. According to Dzogchen literature, Dzogchen is the highest and most definitive path to enlightenment. From the perspective of Dzogchen, the ultimate nature of all sentient beings is said to be pure, all-encompassing, primordial clarity or naturally occurring timeless clarity. This intrinsic clarity has no form of its own, and yet is capable of perceiving, experiencing, reflecting, or expressing all form. It does so without being affected by those forms in any ultimate, permanent way. The analogy given by Dzogchen masters is that one's nature is like a mirror which reflects with complete openness, but is not affected by the reflections, or like a crystal ball that takes on the color of the material on which it is placed without itself being changed. If you hadn't thought of it already, in the movie Star Wars, it's what happened to Obi-Wan Kenobi when he allowed himself to be struck down by Darth Vader. His body immediately dissolves into space, however he merged with the Force and continues to guide and mentor Luke on his path to Jedi enlightenment. Star Wars may be just a movie, but it is a pop culture example that millions are familiar with, and yet another idea that George Lucas borrowed from Eastern mysticism. There are many tales and legends of the great beings who attain the rainbow body within Tibetan culture. While it is understood that only highly realized beings reach that state, the many individuals whose storied deaths left the signs and traces that they had attained the body of light are people from peasants and farmers all the way up to the highest lamas and rinpoches. Certain famous historical figures in Tibetan history, including Padmasambhava and Milarepa, are often depicted in paintings in rainbow body form. However, not only do teachers in the modern day recount incidents of the rainbow body from their memories from Tibet, but contemporary masters have attained the rainbow body themselves. Now, let's look some evidence that all point towards the rainbow body being a very real thing, and not at all part of religious history, but something that continues to occur right up to the present day. Where is the evidence? Ordained Catholic priest Francis Taizo documented the case of Khenpo Acho, a Gelugpa monk of Kham Tibet, who died in 1998, and how he managed to transform his body into a body of light. David Steinrast, a Benedictine monk, proposed in 2002 a scientific investigation with the Institute of Noetic Sciences to study the so-called body of light, or rainbow body, saying that if we can establish as an anthropological fact that what is described in the resurrection of Jesus has not only happened to others, but is happening today, it would put our view of human potential in a completely different light eventually. David Steinrast contacted Father Francis Taizo, who was known for frequently traveling to Tibet, and asked him to look into this incredible phenomenon. The case of Khenpo Acho. In this photo we see a frail, but happy Khenpo Acho a few weeks before his transformation, looking happy. Witnesses report that only a few days before his death a rainbow was seen over his small hut. Apparently he was of the opinion that this transformation was very possible while still alive. At the time of death he was reciting the 6-syllable mantra Om Mani Padme Hum on his right side. Then his breath stopped, and his flesh became pinking or brilliant white dependent on the witness. He was then wrapped as is tradition on the recommendation of his friend Lama Hos. Throughout this process those present said they could notice he was getting smaller, not just the flesh, but the length of the bones. Other signs, mentioned in the old texts, were noticed in this period, such as perfume, beautiful music and more rainbow light. This continued for 7 days. The body once wrapped is left alone, when they then went to unwrap the body only to find he had gone. There was no more body apart from some hair and nails. Witnesses including Lama Norda came forward saying that Khenpo Achos had appeared to them in dreams and visions. This is well documented in other cases whereby final instructions were given to students. The event was well recorded by local press who gave specific accounts of what had occurred, and the rainbow body appeared in an Institute of Noetic Sciences Review 59, March-May 2002. Curiously, the rainbow body of Khenpo Acho was also mentioned by Matthew T. Kapstein in The Presence of Light, Divine Radiance and Religious Experience, University of Chicago Press, 2004. Tulku Pema Rigdzal, a Nepalese monk, recounts Acho's transfiguration. Recently, on August 29, 1998, at Dome Kamgak in Ozirong in Tibet, Khenpo Acho, 80 years of age, attained physical dissolution. One day at noon, lying in bed, without having suffered any recent illness, While in the posture of a sleeping lion and reciting the 6-syllable mantra, he attained Buddha in the primordial basic matrix of alpha purity. His heart of clear light reality perfected beyond the intellect. As his body dissolved into light, his wrinkles vanishing, he seemed like an 8-year-old child with a beautiful complexion. After a week had passed, when people came to know of his death, they performed his death puja secretly in order to deceive the authorities, and at that time, rainbows appeared inside and outside, and a pleasant aroma pervaded the place. His body gradually diminished in size, and at the end, he attained Buddha. Not even his nails and hair were left behind. It was just like a bird flying from a rock. People nearby have no idea where it might have gone. The case of Lama Thubser on 2016. Lama Thubser achieved lesser transformation, meaning his body did not transform entirely into light and instead significantly shrunk. Enough that he could be fit inside a small box. The pictures speak of 1,000 words. Here is one of descriptions from Naljer for the following pictures. These photos show the small rainbow body or Jaluchong, after 7 days of continuous practice following the final regular outer breath, ordinarily called death. He was a Dzogchen practitioner affiliated with Kathog Monastery, Kham, Eastern Tibet. He studied with the great Kathog Sicha Rinpoche as well as with Adzam Rinpoche's son Adzam Giles. Moreover, he received teachings from Jamyang Khyentse Lodro and Nyashoken Rinpoche. Naljer. There was another one recorded occurrence in 2016. A practitioner that also achieved this transformation. Her name was Tasha Lamo. This is another incredible transformation in modern times. Again, it was a small transformation, meaning the body shrank. Tasha Lamo was the mother of Lokgur Rinpoche, which is one of the Tulku and Nyingma Katok Monastery. In the photo, see her in life, and then we can see a significant shrinkage of the body. So much so that she fits into a small box. This quite graphic picture really brings home the reality of this. It is happening. The last transformation with photographic evidence is the one of Lama Achuk Rinpoche photography that seems to show up some strange phenomena. Rigorous research is still required, but also there is more than enough physical evidence and reliable witnesses to merit more academic research into this subject. This great Rinpoche achieved the rainbow body at the age of 84. Having inspired his disciples in life, his greatest lesson was in death. His body shrunk from 1.8 meters to approximately 3 centimeters tall. A clear sign of achieving the small transformation, almost the full transformation. Apparently the picture showing the rainbow light was manifest by this Lama. The lotus was, according to witnesses, only visible in the picture. Make your own mind up on that one. Buddhist Master H.E. Dzogchen Khenpo Choga Rinpoche writes of his teachers passing into a body of light. My precious teacher Dzogchen Lama Karma Rinpoche passed away on the 11th of November, 2013. Yesterday I received extraordinary news from my Dharma friends in the holy Dzogchen area of Tibet, that the sacred body of my kind teacher Lama Karma has obviously and dramatically shrunk in size. Lama Karma's body was about 175 centimeters tall. About 2 weeks after he passed away, his seated body has now shrunk to about 20 centimeters, which means his body, including his skeleton, shrank nearly 80%. According to Dzogchen Tantra, this kind of miraculous display shows he has attained the small rainbow body, which is a sign that he has attained the supreme accomplishment of Buddha in this very life. Please deeply rejoice in his devoted practice and realization of Dzogchen. In doing so, you accumulate immeasurable merit. If his body continues to shrink and totally disappears, then this miracle will be categorized as light body or Atala's body. We're entering a very unique period in time, where many esoteric texts believe that we will become light bodies as we complete the cycle of the precession of the equinoxes, which is a cycle of 25,772 years. These years are broken down into 12 ages as we are currently exiting the age of Pisces and are entering the age of Aquarius. Many believe that these are the days of physical and spiritual transformation. But what does all these evidence really mean for us right now in our lives? I think whatever you want it to. Our perception is highly influenced by our subconscious programming. In fact, a lot of the preparation training in these traditions, though given exotic names, Ngondro, usually 100,000 repetitions of 4 foundation practices will be completed before even the Vajrayana path can be started, and Dzogchen is usually started after Vajrayana, is in fact dealing with these subconscious patterns before we can even arrive at something like Dzogchen or any other means of attaining rainbow body. But is absolutely achievable, and more people than we realize are achieving it. I really hope you have enjoyed this brief look at the amazing phenomena known as rainbow body. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Join our spiritual community by clicking the subscribe button. If you found value on this video, please share it. Have a magnificent rest of the day.